before the rise of emperors, legions, and conquests. There was only a small cluster of villages sitting beside the Tiber River, a place no one would have guessed would someday rule the known world. That place was Rome. The origins of Rome are hidden between myth and history. According to legend, the city was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus and Remus, twin brothers born of a mortal woman and the god of war, Mars. Abandoned at birth and left to die by the river, they were rescued and raised by a she-wolf, a symbol that would forever be tied to Rome's spirit, wild, strong, and unbreakable. As men, the brothers dreamed of building a great city. But as ambition often does, it turned into rivalry. After an argument over where the city should stand, Romulus killed Remus, and named the new city after himself, Rome. Whether this story is fact or legend doesn't really matter. What's important is what it says about how the Romans saw themselves. Born from struggle, chosen by the gods, and destined for greatness, no matter the cost. The Age of Kings. The early Romans believed they were ruled by 7 kings. The first, Romulus, built the foundations, creating the Senate, organizing the army, and dividing the people into tribes. The later kings added temples, public works, and laws. One of them, Servius Tullius, even introduced the first census, counting the people to organize taxes and military service. For centuries, the kings were not just rulers, they were priests, judges, and generals all in one. They claimed divine authority, ruling by the will of the gods. But absolute power always invites corruption. The last king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, called Tarquin the Proud, ruled with arrogance and cruelty. He silenced the Senate, punished dissenters, and placed his family above the law. According to Roman tradition, his downfall came when his son committed a violent act against a noblewoman named Lucretia. Her tragic death sparked outrage, and Rome rose in rebellion. In 509 BCE, the people overthrew the Tarquin dynasty, exiled the royal family, and swore an oath that would echo through Roman history. No more kings. The birth of the Republic. What came next was revolutionary. Rome didn't replace one king with another, it replaced monarchy itself. They created the Roman Republic, a system that balanced power between different groups. At the top were 2 consuls, elected each year. They commanded the army and presided over the government, but they could veto each other's decisions. This was a safeguard against tyranny, a built-in reminder of what happens when one man holds too much power. Beneath them stood the Senate, made up of the city's most experienced and wealthy citizens. The Senate advised the consuls, managed finances, and oversaw foreign policy. Then came the popular assemblies, gatherings of citizens who voted on laws and elected officials. It wasn't a full democracy, power was still in the hands of the elite, but compared to the monarchies around them, Rome's system was astonishingly advanced. This new form of government was built on one guiding principle: that no one man should ever rule Rome alone. Every power had a counterbalance. Every office had limits. And the people, in theory, had a voice. The struggle of the orders. But the Republic wasn't peaceful. From the beginning, Rome was divided by class. The patricians, wealthy, noble families, dominated politics and religion. The plebeians, or common citizens, had little influence and often carried the burden of taxes and military service. Tension between them grew into what history calls the struggle of the orders, a centuries-long battle for equality. Through strikes, protests, and persistence, the plebeians gained ground. They created their own assembly and elected tribunes, officials who could veto unfair laws and protect the people's rights. It was a slow, painful process, but it taught Rome an important lesson. That compromise in law, not violence, could hold a society together. These struggles also shaped Roman identity. Romans began to see themselves as citizens, not subjects. They believed in duty, discipline, and sacrifice for the state. A citizen's loyalty was not to a ruler, but to Rome itself, an idea that would fuel the empire for centuries. The early republic's strength. Freed from kings, Rome began to expand its influence across Italy. It fought neighboring tribes, the Etruscans, Latins, and Sabines, building alliances and securing territory. Each victory brought more people into Rome's orbit, but instead of simply enslaving them, Rome did something unique. It offered citizenship or partial rights to many conquered peoples, turning former enemies into allies. This policy created a network of loyalty that became the backbone of Roman power. Rome's army also evolved. Every citizen had a duty to serve. The legions were disciplined, organized, and relentless. They built roads, forts, and outposts as they conquered, slowly binding Italy together under Roman control. By the 4th century BCE, Rome had become the dominant power in the Italian peninsula. The Roman spirit. What made Rome special wasn't just its armies or politics. It was its mindset, a combination of practicality, discipline, and relentless ambition. Romans believed they were destined to rule, not because of divine right, but because of their character. They valued virtus, courage and moral strength, pietas, duty to family and country, and fides, loyalty and faithfulness. These ideals guided everything from politics to warfare, and they would become the moral code that held the Republic together. By the end of the 6th century BCE, the foundations were set. Rome had survived kings, rebellion, and internal strife. It now stood as a republic, proud, ambitious, and ready to expand. But with power came new challenges. Wars would test the Republic's ideals, and victory would bring both glory and corruption. In the next episode, we'll follow the Republic's rise through the wars of Italy, the conquest of the Mediterranean, and the moments that turned a small republic into a superpower.